Going crazy. Hello, here we are again, Innotivity Live, and you might hear my dogs. They're out in the yard, but they're getting upset about something. I don't know what it is, but anyway, welcome. If you're here, if you're on recording, welcome to you as well. This is Innotivity Live, and I am Michael Lee. That's me, Innotivity Institute. I just got back from the South African Creativity Conference. It's called Accra. And it was the 26th of them after a couple of years of not having them. And I was speaking there the first time I've ever been, and I was very honored, excited to be a speaker, but even more so just meeting a lot of the people and also getting to be in Bella Bella, which is a resort town in the north of South Africa. They have like hot pools and stuff. And in fact, our closing party was in the hot pool, but it was a lot of fun. I got to talk about my uncertainty, talk about getting people to understand that they should actually embrace uncertainty rather than trying to avoid it. And people liked it. So I'm happy. I'm feeling well spent last couple of days. And now, with a couple hours between getting back and being here with you, I am now getting the honor and excitement of having one of the greats in my network anyway, Shawn Nason, who is not only the founder of the Disruptor League, which, I mean, what more do you want than the creator of something named after disruption? But on top of that, he's also a former Disney Imagineer. And he's going to help us talk about some of the ideas around speaking up and actually getting your voice out there. So, Shawn, welcome to Innotivity Live. It's really nice to have you here.
Hello. How are you doing, buddy?
I am good, man. It is 6 o'clock in the evening where I am, and I think where you are, it's like still the
It's
morning.
11. Right? It's 11 in the morning. Not bad.
Right. So you've had coffee at least today.
I've had. Well, I hate to say it, but I have my Diet Coke. Even Coke is from McDonald's. You were talking to me today about McDonald's, but yeah. I'm ready. Dogs are barking going on in my house. So between your dogs and my dogs, this is going to be.
Well, you know, it's nice to have a virtual dog walk together.
There you go.
And yeah, did you know that Coke now has a no caffeine and no sugar Coke?
Yeah. So even drink that?
I don't know. I don't know, but they have it.
That's like sacrilegious. Like this, it's not good for you, but the coffee, I don't drink coffee, so this coffee.
Well, and it's a good question. What good is that while they have it? But they also have now apparently come up with a new branding that includes like mixing every flavor that exists of Coke. They've got like vanilla, cherry, and I don't know. I don't even know. Like there's like a orange, vanilla. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but I guess they're trying to innovate somehow. Is what they're trying to do.
They're trying to do. My wife likes vanilla Cokes. I don't. Not for me, but yes. So that drinking my version of coffee this morning, my friend.
Well, and so your friend Luciano here, he has a doctorate apparently, and he seems to like coffee from McDonald's.
You know, a lot of people here in the States love coffee from McDonald's. Love it.
There's your dog. That's your dog, not my dog.
The dog in his view on it.
Well, okay, so I think we've talked enough about McDonald's. In Europe, of course, you can get beer at McDonald's, which was one good reason to go to McDonald's. The other was to go to the toilet. When I used to live in Europe, we would go to the toilet at McDonald's. There was once when we were in France, they had a McDonald's, which seems also sacrilegious, but we did use it for the toilet. So there are many good reasons to go to McDonald's. Where when you're in the airport and nothing else is open, apparently was your excuse.
Well, yeah, the other night, and I hate to actually say this, Michael, and then we'll leave McDonald's alone. But I've actually been to McDonald's in Paris, so yeah, you have to visit them where. So
By the way, I'm having a technical problem. I can barely hear what you're saying, so I'm just going to watch you on LinkedIn, and it'll tell me what you're saying while you're saying it, and then we'll have a conversation like that, which I think is a good way to look at the modern age. So I'm going to give you a moment to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how you learned to say what you need to say, not be afraid of speaking up. So go ahead, Sean. I'm just going to let you do that, and maybe your dog can assist with that.
yes, he, he's just be loud right now. But hello, everybody. Shawn Nason, mentioned founder, Disruptor League, and CEO of Mofi. Have a background in innovation and consumer experience. When you start to think about where to learn to speak up, I'm going to go back to becoming a leader, Michael, and that becoming a leader, you have to learn to listen when you need to speak. And so I would give all of that to say I preach a very short sermon on how, and I'm going to talk about from the principles again of leadership as we just talked about. And it is this: leader, you need to learn to be transparent. So when you work with the company or your team or your CEO, you need to learn to be transparent, and that's speaking up. You need to learn to build relationships, and then most importantly, to love people. And I do believe, and I wrote this in a book in 2021 with two amazing friends of mine. You actually see the book behind called "Kiss Your Dragon," and that is how I believe you need to speak up. That's how I speak up. I'm with people. I love to build relationships, and I love people, and I love dogs, even though he will not quit barking.
So I guess then loving people isn't the limit of it. It's just loving living things, I guess, including dogs.
Yes.
But you make it sound simple, Sean, right? Just I learned to speak up, you're saying, because you learned to love people. But a lot of people are afraid of people. I was afraid of people for most of my life. It's only been a recent thing that I'm not terrified of people. And the last couple of years made it easier because I could pretend I was actually with people by being online. But how do you learn to love people if you don't actually just love people already?
Oh, okay. So it sounds easy, as you said, but it isn't easy. I learned to love people goes back to my careers. I said I'm a fifth career, but in that career, as a pastor, it's just in my heart. It's in to love people and to be that transparent person and to be that person that wants to see people. Really important to me. I am. Is it easy? No. My co-author of the book, Kiss Dragons, they talk about it's not near as easy for them as it is for me to live and to live. So, full transparency, I said this sermon. No, it's not always easy. It hurts sometimes, but you have to do it.
So, okay. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Do you have any techniques you can share that helped you learn to love people, or is it just, I mean, something that was natural to you, or is there some kind of process people can follow to, because I get what you're saying. I mean, here's how I hear it. It's like if you're afraid to speak up about certain things, one of the ways that you can give yourself the courage and the strength to do that is simply to get that whatever message you're bringing is going to connect with the people you're talking to, that there's nothing to be afraid of because they want to hear it, and you are listening well enough to know what they need to hear. Am I fairly accurate? That's where you're coming from?
Yeah, and so that's the whole book, Michael. It was to teach people to lean into things that they fear. So if you fear speaking, if you whatever it might be, and it goes to the whole concept of kiss your dragon goes back to a movie called How to Train Your Dragon, and you had Hiccup and Toothless, and they're the parody and the relationship that they built to these three movies. What it meant is that Hiccup leaned into the things that he feared. You actually say it. The past 2 years, you've been able to lean into it more. How you move into speaking, you just have to lean into the things that you most.
I'm just wondering what it is. What's your dog's name? John, you still there?
Sorry, my dog's name is Elvis, and he's
Oh,
very
okay.
loud. So, give me like 30 seconds, Michael.
Sure. I'll
Back.
entertain the people while you take care of that. But I was going to say, if you could let us know what Elvis is saying when you get back.
I will.
So this is the question that we're always dealing with on this particular live broadcast that we've been doing just for a couple of weeks is, how do you get to say what you need to say? What are some opinions from people who do speak up more than others? If you're there, watching now, I'd love to hear from you. A couple of you already announced yourself, Luciano, Igno, but others who may be there that are watching. If you'd like to, in the comments, just let us know, what is it that helps you speak up, right? And so, Luciano, I'm getting your comment here. I see it that you have to have the courage to do it. And you're talking about also if it involves your organization. So do you, Luciano, are you coming from a situation where your organization makes it hard to speak up, or that you feel like what you need to say in the organization doesn't get listened to? Or, I'm wondering where you're coming from with mentioning the organization. But it's certainly something that a lot of people I've talked to, struggle with in certain kinds of companies or organizations they're in, is like, who's listening to what they're saying? How does it get said in a way that matters? Or are you just saying something that might get you in trouble or cause problems without any benefit to it? So, Luciano, thanks for that comment, and I'd love to hear what you have to think about that. In terms of how do you know it's worth the trouble? Something that people don't always have a good sense of, or they maybe have a very pessimistic sense of, that maybe what I want to say isn't worth the trouble. But it's been this past couple of days being at Dr. Kobus Niethling's, where he's the creator of and centerpiece of, founder of the Acre Conference, which is one of the premier creativity conferences in the world. And it's interesting being in a place like that where, a large percentage of the people are professionals in an area, around presenting, speaking, facilitating, teaching. They're very interested in, the situation with that. So it's been an interesting thing because I've spent the last couple of days around people who do tend to say what they feel like saying. But it's surprising sometimes when you're talking to a group of people, say there's a room of 20 or 30 people, you're talking to them and you ask a question and often nobody wants to answer. There's like a fear of being the one who actually answers in some rooms. So, Shawn, I'm going to ask you now that you're back, and I see that Elvis has left the building. There's a question that Luciano raised, something about, how do you speak up courageously when it involves the future of the organization? I think you, as someone who's worked not only in a couple of big organizations, but with many, how do you see it in terms of an organization being, a situation where you speak up or you want to, but you don't think people are going to really listen, and you're probably just going to cause more trouble for yourself than the benefit you might create. How do you deal with that
Well,
situation?
listen, that's probably why I own a consulting group, Disruptor League, right? Honest, I no longer sit with a corporation. I in a company who would not allow for that type of transparency and conversations to happen. So what I encourage people that sit in those spaces, and I encourage them as they are working through being a company where they have to do those things, and by it, is go to where the love is. Go to people who think you, mindset like you, and lean into them and find those people. We actually, again, we talk about it in the book. We swarm than a tribe. A tribe, we always hear your vibe attracts your tribe, right? Well, the vibe of a tribe is typically the same people. They look the same, and I can say this: I'm Native American. The same, they act the same, they talk the same. There's this thing, and I appreciate that. I have a tribe, but I also have this thing called the swarm. Swarm is people that look different than me, think different than me, have beliefs than I do. I myself with those people, even within an organization where things get really difficult, you have to still do. And that's my advice to people if they're in an organization where it might affect the business, to send those people.
So, it's by the way, just wanted to touch on your book because I know that it's a very special book for you. And where can people get it? Just as a little pause in this conversation, where can people get Kiss Your
Yeah,
Dragons?
yeah. Amazon.com or either ShawnNason.com. The best place fast is Amazon.com. Just type in my name and Kiss Your Dragon. You can find it right there.
Okay, that's a good thing to know. It's a book worth reading, and I know, Shawn, you've put a lot into it over the last couple of years before you let it go. So, what did Elvis? What was Elvis trying to say? What did Elvis need to say that he was trying to say?
He was trying to tell me that there was people close to our backyard. They're in our yard. They're in someone else's yard. But he had to let him out, and he's outside. I'm barking at them outside now. So
Yeah. A lot of the time, it seems like dogs they really do not hesitate to speak up. They really just do it. So in a certain way, I think there's a metaphor there we could learn from. Dogs just the minute they have an impulse that they think they want to say something, they just say it. And it sometimes seems the simplest thing to do is to just say what you need to say without worrying about it. But what I learned when I was in the hospital, a few weeks back, and had this idea of mining this vein of talking about, like, how can we get people to actually be empowered to say what they want to say. I realized that all of us have different levels, and I know you, as somebody who has a podcast and does keynote talks and runs all kinds of events, you say a lot of things. But what is it you think that you are not saying, or that you realize you might really need to say that you haven't been saying? I think all of us, no matter what level we're at, there's some other level we can go to, a higher level of freedom, a higher level of openness and transparency. What is it, Shawn, you would like to say that you haven't been saying?
Well, so that's a hard one here, Michael, because I think if those that are close to me would say he doesn't not say things that he doesn't want to say. I think, though, when I step back and go, what is it that I'm not saying that I want to say? Is that I'm going to be real honest. It's time in this world, be transparent. It's time in this world, this globe. There are differentiations in all of us. All are very different. We believe different. We think this time that just become an accepting society globally, and really in particular here in the United States, like tired of dysfunction over things that don't need to have dysfunction, and things that get politicized or things that get mixed up in worlds that shouldn't be. And I'm going to go back to my sermon, man. Love people. If I want to say anything to anybody, learn to love people and learn to love those that are different than you, think different, act different.
So what I'm hearing here is something that I think is very clear, and inside of a lot of situations where people come on a thing like this and talk about things in a very complex way, you really are saying a very simple thing, which I'm now typing up to put on the screen. Shawn's number one tip, right? And it's simple. It's simple. It's very simple. And I'm just hoping that I don't type it with typos as I'm trying to look on the camera and off the camera at the same time. But basically, it's this. Shawn's number one tip: love people, right? Love people, and that will help you feel comfortable to speak.
I'll leave it here. I'll leave another tip for you. You don't have to type it out, Michael. I can. Old Nation legend is the longest make in your life is from your head to your heart. And we have to learn to make that journey from our heart and make that connection. And guess what? You can have heart in business and successful business person. That's my encouragement to people.
Got it. And there's a lot of connection between those two. I learned a fact recently in the last couple of weeks that has blown my mind, Shawn, and I haven't shared it on this platform yet. Did you know the chemical oxytocin, right? Oxytocin. It's very well known as like the love drug, right? It's the thing that makes your baby fall in love with you. It's the thing that makes you fall in love with your baby. It's like when you're in love with somebody, not just loving them, but like in love. It's oxytocin, right? So there was a study done by a professor at Northwestern University in which she showed indisputably that oxytocin is also the source of fear. So what this means is that the same hormone is ultimately responsible for causing fear and love. And people always put fear and love as opposites, right? Saying that where there's fear, there's no love. Where there's love, there's no fear. You need to love people instead of fearing them. You need to overcome your fear with love, all that kind of thing. Even John Lennon said love and fear are the two impulses motivating human beings. The Beatle, he actually said that. Bruce Springsteen has a song lyric that on the left hand, the guy wrote the word love. On the right hand, he wrote the word fear. And then I discovered this study that shows that oxytocin is the basis of both love and fear, which means the same hormone, the same impulse is creating these two opposites, which ultimately means there's really only one state of being human, right? Which is oxytocin, apparently. But, there's only one state of being human, and we get to choose how we take that. Do we take the oxytocin to make us afraid, or do we take the oxytocin to give us a sense of love and connection? Any thoughts there?
Well, and I would say this. I've been married almost 25 years. This year, it'll be November. It will be 25 years. I have 2 children, and I have amazing friends around me. There is a fear in loving people because we fear getting hurt. We fear not living up to what they must. So I love the fact that they do go hand in hand. And as leaders, think about that in a business perspective. What if leaders at times just said, hey, I don't know what's happening, or in that transparency, share fear in it, but still love their people? Don't it would be such a powerful business and such a powerful world. That's all I believe in.
Well, and yeah, it is an amazing thought that honesty, transparency, authenticity. It's obvious, I think, that is the right way to live and the right way to lead and the right way to succeed, and yet it's very rare. I just want to take a moment to say to people that are watching, before I ask Shawn the last question, and something that probably everybody's wondering when we're going to get to. But for everybody watching, if you have not yet signed up for this link here will allow you to get reminded every week when we're doing the Innotivity Live, see who the co-host or guest is that's joining us, and just send you a message to make sure that you actually don't miss anything. It's a really easy link to type in. So it's simply bit.ly/Innotivity Live. I will add it into the comments, so that you can just copy and paste it. But please go there right now if you can and just register for that. It'll just send you a reminder once a week, no more than that. Once a week, it'll send you a reminder that says this week in an hour, you're going to have a chance to watch live when X and X guest, Shawn Nason, or whoever it is, will be with us. Right. So Shawn, the one thing I want to ask you that I think is important is you spent a lot of your early career as a Disney Imagineer. Now, I suppose that you learned a lot about freedom of expression in that kind of job. You learned a lot about like not holding back on your thinking of ideas, but also your implementation of ideas, whether through words or action. So tell us, how does being a Disney Imagineer impact your ability to speak up?
Well, let me say and preface it with this. People need to understand when I imagine. I actually sit as a finance person's background. So I was a computer. So I was the evil person that people, finance people don't want to be creative or don't want to do innovation. So I got to sit in that role and learn to do a whole new aspect of it. I learned what makes Disney so powerful is the ecosystem that they have built around the guest experience. We coin it at Mofi experience ecosystem. And there's a spot for everyone to speak up, no matter if you were in digital, no matter if you were in vendor relationships, guest member relationship, guest relations. There's a spot for everyone to speak up, and everyone has. Now, ultimately, there's someone that has to make the decision, but everyone gets to share their voice. And I think being a person really, really changed. I actually tell people Disney was my very first corporate job. Spoiled. I just thought it like that. And then when I got outside of that, I was like, holy cow, they really don't do this. So, yeah, everyone has this and to share their voice. And I think that's what's fun about Disney.
Well, here's the really crazy thing about speaking, right? When you get in a room with someone who isn't afraid to say what is important, an interesting thing happens. 29 minutes go by very quickly, and we only have 1 minute left on this broadcast. On the other hand, Shawn, you're a very well-spoken person in the sense that you know when to stop speaking. So we've managed to get a lot in this short time. So thank you for that. Thank you to those of you who've been sharing in the comments, particularly Dr. Luciano Santini, who is new to this, Innotivity Live. Haven't been here before, I don't think so. Dr. Santini, please come back. You must be Shawn's friend, I imagine. Elizabeth Power will be with us in a different thing I'm doing tonight for my work in Innovation Mind. She's also making some comments. So all of you who have been commenting, thank you very much. If you're watching this on a recording, please still feel free to comment. Remember, if you go to the link here, you will be able to register for reminders to next week's Innotivity Live and so forth. See what is happening there. Shawn, I'm going to give you 1 minute to just wrap up and say what you need to say to the people who are watching about the freedom to speak. You've said a lot already, but what would you like to give them in 60 seconds about the message of how they can become thoroughly open and able to say what they need to say?
Yeah. You say some of the same things. Lean into the things you fear. Kiss your dragons. See it behind me. It talks about radical relationships, bold hearts, and changing the world. And learn to lean into the things that you fear. Surround yourself with people that look and act than you do, and then just love on people, transparency, and building. You do that, I think you have a win-win combination. And Michael, so much for allowing me to be on here today. Thank you to everyone who's commented. Please to follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen for you, Michael, on the show. So,
yeah, Shawn, thanks for being here, man. It's been a real privilege getting to know you over the last year or so, and I'm looking forward to surprising you, without you realizing it when I come to the States and just stumble into your
awesome.
house. But before we go, there's one thing I need to do for you, Shawn, because I know it's been 3 days since this, but it still is the same week. So, Shawn, and you're never going to see this happen that often, but I'm going to sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, 3 days later. Shawn Nason, man on fire. Happy birthday to you. And for those of you who are not here to watch this live, you missed the shot at it. You missed me singing.
I missed it. There you go, brother.
Mr. Shawn Nason, thank you very much. I wish we could talk to you longer because you've got profound things to say. But people, please read Shawn's book, Kiss Your Dragons. Please check out Shawn's broadcast tomorrow, which is on his LinkedIn profile. I will be watching it. Shawn, just give us quickly. We're 2 minutes over, but heck, we're live. Who cares?
Hey,
Shawn,
next week or tomorrow is on the future of work. In the future of the workplace. Excited we have a leading thought leader on it, and so really excited to dig into that tomorrow. So yes, come join us.
Yeah, Shawn Nason, man on fire. Go to his LinkedIn page, look up what's happening tomorrow. He's got a really nice live happening also only 1 day later, and it's still going to be his birthday, so I'm going to type happy birthday to him. But Shawn, thank you. See you tomorrow, and thank you for being with us. Really appreciate it. To the rest of you, to the rest of you, thank you very much. Be back next week. We're going to talk to someone else who's going to give us some input on how you can speak up, say better, more powerful, and clearer things, and not just kiss your dragons, but run away and leave your demons behind and actually say the things you need to say. So thank you for being here. Thanks to those of you who've joined us and made comments. As I said, I'll be doing a show later with Elizabeth Power for Innovation Minds in about 3 hours. But other than that, I promised this too. We're having a mastermind for facilitators in 30 minutes. One of the top organizations in the world for facilitators is going to be leading a session for us. If you're a facilitator, you're watching this, or know somebody who is, please hit me on LinkedIn in the next 30 minutes and I'll get you into our session to learn about the kind of cutting edge of facilitation in 2022. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I am Michael Lee. That was Shawn Nason. This is Innotivity Live. You will speak up and say what you need to say, and we are finished. Thank you very much for being here.